was okay. Um, as I mentioned back in the airport episode, on this third disc of season 4, um, all the episodes to me were very funny. Some of my favorites, with the airport being my favorite in the series, and a lot of them where I had a lot of lines that I always reference to a lot, or a lot of stories where I think of ideas based off of something that happened with Seinfeld. The movie, though, again, I mentioned there's one episode on this disc that I'm like, it's okay, but it's the only one I wouldn't go out my way to watch all the time, and it's the movie. It's okay. I get the story, but as far as like a favorite episode, it doesn't stand out to me as like a favorite episode. But I do think the plot is quite chaotic, and it's simple. It's just like it's a true definition of a domino effect, where like one simple miscommunication just screws everything up. So the story was, Jerry had plans to do two shows, basically just to do some stand up at an improv and another comedy club that night. He had an appointment. He had one scheduled for earlier in the night, and then he had one scheduled for 9:50. What happened was the first one he had though was delayed, and he was not going to be able to make it though in time, because his plan was he was going to do both shows, and then he was going to go see Checkmate at the Paragon with not with himself, with George, Elaine, and Kramer. They wanted to see that movie for a while. But what happened was, again, his show got delayed, and then they said the only way he would be able to do any material tonight was if he did the 11 o'clock, which he'd be missing the movie. So he said, all right, he says, I'll go do my other show over, I forgot where the other one was at, but then he would come back to the improv to do his 11 o'clock. But he had to go let his friends know first, though, that he wasn't going to be able to make it to the movies. So so as he's getting ready to leave, he runs into this other comedian, Pat Buckles, who he just instantly seemed like annoyed with. He just had no interest in talking to. So he headed over to do his other show. Sorry, first he went to go do his other show. And he got there, but he realized he got the time wrong. He thought it was 9:50. It was actually 9:15. So he missed his spot, but the person who replaced him, Pat Buckles. So Jerry Gross was just annoyed with him, and then Jerry had to head to the movies to go tell everyone, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it because I had the show moved to 11 o'clock. But of course, Pat being the Pat, how Jerry couldn't stand him, he ends up splitting a cab with Jerry and starts telling Jerry all these stories, stuff that he doesn't care about. The big thing he kept asking him throughout the whole entire night was that if he could let him put his one jacket in his closet at his apartment for a month. I can't remember the reason why. But anyway, so meanwhile, though, back at the Paragon, Elaine and George were in line for tickets. And they asked the guy in front of them, is this the line? Do you guys have tickets? And the guy said no. But he assumed that this was a line to buy tickets, and then there was a line for the ones who were holding tickets. But then he later finds out that they're in line for the holding tickets. And the guy in front of him, someone else wanted to go get their tickets. So George stepped out of line. Kramer just arrived. Jerry still not arrived, but they didn't know yet that Jerry had issues with the shows. So George went to go get tickets. They were sold out. So Kramer accidentally went to Paradise Twin by mistake. But of course they were sold out. They said, well, I guess we can go to the Paradise Twin to see the movie. They still have plenty of tickets there. So they said okay, but they told Kramer wait at the Paragon for Jerry. Now the only thing is though is that Kramer said he was hungry. He did not want a movie theater hot dog. He wanted a Papayas hot dog, and he kept just like looking over at Papayas and just craving it because he was hungry. So So, so Jerry eventually would arrive at the Paragon, and finally getting away from Buckles. And but before he had gotten there, Kramer went over and told the ticket booth lady that what he described Jerry was they throughout this episode. The four of them were described saying, "Hey, have you seen a guy that looked like this, and this?" Like, just described in like very weird ways. So they were some very weird ways. So basically, Kramer tried his best to describe what Jerry looked like. Jerry though showed up. Well, I'm sorry. First, George had came back because him and Elaine went to Paradise Twin. They got tickets, but then and they went in. But then he went back to check on Kramer. I think it was, and Kramer though, of course, I went to Papayas. George had gotten there first, and it was before Jerry had arrived at the Paragon, and basically was asking him to see Kramer and describe Kramer, but they said no. Jerry had gotten there. He went in thinking that they were already inside the theater, could not find them. Kramer came back from Papayas, and Lay said never saw him. So then Kramer started heading back to Paradise Twin. Jerry came out as Kramer. It's funny, like there were several times where it's like they would be walking past each other, or they'd be in the vicinity of each other, and they wouldn't even notice. Kramer headed over to Paradise Twin. Jerry, though not able to find them at the Paragon, went back to a cab, went to the Improv, found out he was too late for his show, and Buckles replaced him there also. Buckles then talked him into seeing Rochelle. So they went to go see Rochelle. Elaine, meanwhile, she had issues because she didn't want to, she was told to save them seats. But Elaine hated saving seats. But she finally gave up the seats, and then she went to go get some popcorn. She went to go get popcorn. At the same time, George was coming back in, and George had issues getting in because he kept losing his stub. So he had to use Kramer's and Jerry's tickets to get in also, even though when Kramer got the Paradise 20, he said, "Oh, by the way, my friends are here. They're in the theater," and the guy let him go in. Kramer ends up going in and sitting where Elaine was sitting, and her coat was there. Elaine went in, and she couldn't find her seat again, so she ends up going out there complaining to the usher. But usher couldn't do anything about it, so she went in to see Rochelle. George had mentioned to see Rochelle also. I think by mistake. I think he went to the wrong one, or he was just more tempted to see Rochelle. And then Jerry and Buckles went in to see Rochelle. The three of them, except for Kramer's and Rochelle, they then realized, oh, we're all three in here. But they thought the movie was bad, so they got up and left. Kramer came out then, and then Elaine realized that Kramer stole her seat and had his jacket. And then of course Jerry says what happened with him. But then also Kramer realized he got some Papayas mustard on Elaine's jacket. And that's basically it. Like I said, a domino effect, back and forth thing, chaotic, but it was just like a whatever, episode. One of the few ones that don't take place at the apartments, but it was fine. Like I said, it just wasn't my favorite on the disc for sure. The next episode is going to be an interesting one. This next one, I like it, but I'm going to have to be a little bit careful the way I talk about it. But it is good. It is a good one. And of course, also there was an incident that happened in it that does make me think of a story from when I was in high school. But I will tell you guys that next in the next review of Seinfeld. So once again, guys, what are your thoughts on the movie? Again, it was a good episode, but like I said, it's just not one of my favorites. Leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAirboy93. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Peace out, everybody.
No